Yeah. Very nice.
Did you read the text when you went back to your rooms?
Oh,
when you rested and
also both. But I was reading about the chapter on the importance of bodhicitta. So I stayed with this.
Chile the chicken tadobuda. Ra, chile, jura. Donna chair, Nina chair. Then you couldn't go home. Chile, so sometimes Nina is a welcome down to Santa door, corridor dinner. Sometimes chili. Ra, Chicala door, Chidoma. So simple as socially, sometimes Donna, dinner, Sana, Cadina. Chinang the chair.
In a sense, Dharma practice is actually quite practical, quite handy, because we don't have to take anything for it. It's all what goes on in our minds, whether we are going for a walk or sleeping or sitting down or what. Anytime we can think about the Dharma and apply it.
Sleeping in the
Sleeping, not a sleeping time, of course.
Sleeping in the dream. Maybe, yeah. Then sometimes the cheetah, Nicola, so that they are Mandi, or then I did chin and Dimas on side. Then they live in Zamzanina later. Penanganina and a miller to that depend on Dimas and Jubashe leader. Dear Yabora, cousin you and the edition of the some Tandora. Then you can go to the Chusuna, dear Dimas and Jaboro Zeta. Dear Yabora. Yakashi and you do I see in Dilamand in a Malish sound and there, Sena would in Yalam Tanga. Nini Nalola, some Tanachi,
I mean, sometimes we can have dreams, that are related to the Dharma in a sense. We remember things that we did, or we might remember something that we did wrong, and then, we dream about it and then have a sense of regret, which, is a good thing also.
Mazuki, Tini, Corona, Tini, Tini, transmission later.
No, definition.
Definition. Odi Tini the color, Nile the Canela, Gonga on he not do well. Gonga, not so good. Ye say on the other son of the Andrew Koyaji, Karin the Chitora. Ye come the Tama Nala do more. She has a nigger Tini, Gonga on he not do well in the share.
Well, if you might give the definition of dream, I mean, which basically means that all the ordinary, the five senses, they the eye sense and the ear sense and so forth, they stop operating, and it's only the mental sense that's functioning during the day. During the dream. During sleep. Sorry. It's the did I say the definition of dream of sleep, not dream.
Because dream let the son of Mobustan. You could do the Lagachi, and you could hide to Matu Mare, Lily shed in your air. Would you let me going out here not to develop?
So when all the five senses, stop operating, that's when that's the definition of sleep.
Can I crown Manduji need the little thing year? Leptachamboda, the Mamudo.
You all went to to school, to university. Did you ever come across a definition of sleep?
No. Ngaro in the Shilology, the Toludo, the Nunnery, Tangazu Pebegil, Tolula, nothing in my Hindiro, Jangatore, Annie, the Saralat, Dunu in a dear renegade Mare Nacho to Nacho to the Hindi to the Chiro, the January. Any singing ranch in Gonpa Nalo Latin, the thing that I Nangamaki Jai, Kebat and Bedu to the Tavira, the Zumambotagore, and Puke by its Jusha in the Tower. Shimbaya Shilo less you, Tanu Yomara. And I consider that Jacka Casacala door, Toluchim which motor, Mikeba, Mambotura, Consola, Male Consoling, and Yaya Yesira, the day the actions again, the little Konu and Essence.
I thought because you have more experience than I have, you all went, to get an education at the university or wherever. I myself haven't, joined a university. I went to Sarna, to the Tibetan university in a sense there for a bit, but mainly stayed in the Nunnery. But I've come across, when studying the Dharma, I've come across, texts by Indian and Tibetan masters, and there we learned all these definitions. So I thought you have come across that too.
나도 그 친이 돌에 가려면 왜 친이도 배 받긴 서울도들아 아니 콜레 친이요 친이라 친이를 샤 아니 들을 저 버저네 배나 가족이 본박이 친이로 있다 코나스나 바샤샤로 일라샤나로 본박이 친이랑 가족이 또대 셰신 추저 치텐지니 발은 샤기요 다 잘라자 가다가이나 가와이나레 본바이나레 카리나 잘라 맘버실레 친이요 라디 친이 돌아 아니 사마담 들을 저 버저로 카리나
Anyway, so we studied a lot about, when we, studied philosophy, we learned all these various kinds of definitions, and then, we say, of a pot, which, I don't know, round, I don't know by English by heart the definition, but round bottom shape, whatever, I think with a handle, something like that is the definition of pot, say, for example. So likewise we learned the definitions of so many things, and that's then how we then engaged in debate.
당아도 엔지로 지다. 당아도게 지게 최시에는 딩고마 주고는 아주 사지 주소로 지긴다. 아니 타마다네 아주 신능도. 디칼라는 따치나가도 나다도 수수기 다 담자로 지르다. 라 사지주는디. 라 아니 사지주도 생피로 차고라. 사지주도 수주전을 사지 받다니. 다기 예수집이 총은 돌아편시 사지도 쇼라. 다디 다시 터도 마도나야 간다간 저기지 소소기 걔네도 담자로 상주비 산다 소바야 태야지라. 예수님 탐지게 아니 지긴이라니 저기 담자로 시차고라. 대 타마들랑 저기 진도에 사모 호아 자, 화디 지어있는 건 저기다 수수기 취로 제가 다리 약고지 지긴이 아니야 직 Thosamling 약고지 지긴이라는 수수기 담보 캐내지 취로 다 질라니 수수기까지 잡서는 땅아 들지 마보지 지니 아니 타마들은 땅 저기래 가리는 레아디 참샤디가라 먼저기 개와사셔 참에 해와 지다기 수수 지부로지 간den로 계정로 미치고 지어다 미참을기 냠도 지어디 개와도 많이 그쳐버려 와 나나시기 다 수수기 개와 사샤주디 간저기 베나 간저 무드네 사는 무칸나는 제샤바나시 수수기 개와 사샤주디야 냐 호이나 아니 디퍼룰레 지게 콘돌라야도 지게 도샤시나 칸데이나 테스치기 게자데마 만좀야라 펜도스라 진짜 템부냐야데 디 커르라네 게자디 냐니 가실라 단당하나저기 개와 사샤주기 데 개와 지어와 라 디기 개와디기 아니 사제데 상치고 마타치 봐도 ningaladi debudim hemba shole do jira kyangi dende sama tawaina ani ti susugi ti parula susugi gyasa shaju dia pum hoina ti gezadi de deor khalo ta sanje ta ani shaju semba de macha bata sanje koma mata bata degir ra kesi ani dene masa waina ya parudula ganjo lundo ra den chedi gezadi ma cha manjom do ra tile peshe shaire pena nga chu chu ti ba si ja chu na la jawaina ra 즉 티바지 자촌나는 자와이 아니 자촌 마감 받아 되기로 대나싱이 나라 저기 아니 개와지 개와샤지 사샤주된 호이나 사지기 고방 마트 받아 아니 네트워다 데이터 된대기 편데레스 되게 지는 거 저기 있는 거인데
So why are we reciting this refuge prayer and the Bodhisattva prayer initially before we then engage in the Dharma here teaching, or then after the class we usually recite these dedication prayers? Why are we doing this? So first of all, we give rise to bodhicitta and remember the spirit of enlightenment. It's kind of like making that promise, remembering to the wish to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And then after, eventually, then we recite these dedication prayers. That's dedicating all our roots of virtue, that we have accumulated due to hearing and contemplating the Dharma, and the virtue that we have created as a group together is more powerful, much more powerful than doing that on one's own. So, and also it serves the dedication of virtue that serves like, the purpose of saving the root of virtue, as it were, like putting money on the bank. So it cannot get destroyed anymore due to anger. And also, once we have dedicated our virtue, it will remain, there until, as we made that promise, until all sentient beings have actually achieved enlightenment. So until then, these roots of virtue will continue to bear fruits and cannot be destroyed by anger anymore. And it's like, you can imagine like a drop placed in the ocean, and so the drop will never run dry until the whole ocean is dried out. So it will remain there all the time. So likewise, if that happens with our virtue, once we are dedicating it.
Di shashin madora. Nichina Tarimasa Sani to Saira, Nijelanzo, Yesela letters. She gives Chunsa, Karo Jadi.
Yeah.
Yes, Yabuda, Nathan the Sani Nani, Shinya, Nanganga Yura, the lady Jesela let her to the Jesela let her, so them with Yumara. I saw them later. Dear Dotuna Yaputusam.
So we'll continue with our text, but Geshema says we'll probably finish tomorrow, and then there's a bit of time left, so I thought it's a good idea to have a look at the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas. You might have, and that's it, not a very short text, not a very long text, it's fairly short, it just has 37 plus verses, so probably look at that the day after tomorrow.
Tikazanzo Shanju Singala, the Himobijara. Pashanju Simba the Yamne Kandi Chigi, the Shiwara, Tida Kazan Joy. Shitang to Chula, the Pemoshare, Karsi, Taking the Mamura, Karadangu in Hamawire, Ine and Anzula Pentobato, Negam Chio. Sama as an imagine lo Shetu Maro, Dinalo like Gehsema Carre, she's on Nalo and Yerian at Samapana Kande, who didn't roging of this. She musician mission, but tape some machine she drew dinner, and the low Mavajana, Shemara, the Sayamara. Later on the Tizula Papa in New Year, and he's so shit on Nalo and Yeri the summer panda, Pantoachi, onto the Chashidu the Michira.
Yeah, so these 37 practices of Bodhisattvas relate very much to what we have talked about recently, when we spoke about Bodhicitta. So then these 37 practices are actually then, describing the way how we can, put this into practice, how we can go about our daily life and practice Bodhicitta. And so although the Dharma is very vast and there are so many books we could study for years on end, and of course we don't have that time here, but that's sort of, it's a concise text which gives, some good advice for, daily life. If you want to study it all properly, you have to stay here for a few years.
Daru is the loho is the Timay by any Gege Mamboyra, Dendra is the Dawa is the time. Is Mitsakan is the China, the Lord Nishitana is the Tara. But the is it like game that is the mother of Chinda, the Lida. Chitage as a Chinga, Suzuki Tip Care watching tape Mamboy Binalola, Susulu Goya, the Pantoya, the Carcarina, Udinga Junction Yada. Right. Susola ji pendo yuji ji taped in the ra. There's not Chichinata Sama Pentoni re. The Susola Katu Goya Kare in the ra. Would the Penachawa and the Suzuki Stundan, Dombason, Geshema. The Mija Road in the Shuzona, the Ache, Casacala do, the Chians, the Bogomia, the Geshema water. Ra. The Pena Gombala did in the Shushu, the Majicha said that Tato Shushi Mare, because the change is new era. Ra. I shall let Lega to the movie to the Mampoji Chim to the Tindigan, Mampo to the Goyagi, Jim Mampoji Chagura. Cheta, this was the Maras of the Karkar Goedi. Janshana Yada.
So in the monastery or the nunnery, for example, me in Thosamling, we studied like 20 plus years. It's of course, quite a lengthy period of time, and we had yearly exams, or as many teachers, many exams repeatedly, and eventually, after having studied so much, we had almost like a dislike for exams. We didn't want to take. So anyway, it's good, I mean, there's this whole range, of teachings and a vast amount of books. So it's good to, study that, which really is of direct benefit to us. For nuns, for example, nuns and monks, maybe the stress is more like ethical discipline, how to lead an ethical lifestyle. For lay people, might be more important to focus more or concentrate more on the practice of patience. Inside, for example, in the monasteries or nunneries, maybe there are less, conditions that would trigger pride, jealousy, and so forth. Whereas outside in the world, when people go about their work, maybe there are more, triggers for pride and jealousy and so forth. But anyway, so it's good to, study that and look into these things which, are of most benefit to us directly.
다야디 다 곰발라지 다던데서 요말라냐 참마방 사주다 말와 이내야디 걸러 올라나 this new then consular puro the chawado nado then charso yomara then midigoladi karandin sosachipore sosa lang sosa treasure sosa kandechi diri temdo lo ade sosa mila robodo chedi and shimba susugi chi kodne mambo yomara midigola de la and the shakondo chesa yomara mato chitagi chemi bada sama pansha jun madaya ra then the lakonya kenza do kona 아니 실로라이는 이제 찍게 서서 보고 된다 남이 된다 저 된다 아니 지금 누구 된다 생각이 내가 지금 뭐 보여라 내가 빼모이라 그래서 가면 잠자는데 sembarla 강이 되는데야 그래서 뭐 감사 유일이 마차이라
I mean, when I say, there are not many triggers for pride or jealousy in the monasteries or nunneries, it doesn't mean that we have abandoned it all, right? We still have our afflictions. They're not abandoned completely. It's just because of the fact that, usually, I mean, we are alone, we are not, monastics don't have a partner, a husband or wife or children, so that we live alone and, we have time to spend reciting texts or reading books, going out and help others, whereas, in ordinary lay life, with a family, then of course there are more situations that might bring up some of these afflictions, but I'm not saying that we have, abandoned all these afflictions, we still have them.
Mission somewhat Dutch over it, somewhat Dutch over it, and a pesarelay. Dutch on butter. No, what is something that you mochi major, Dutch on boy. The little quarter cigarettes. Someone say the game.
It's not that we are arhats already, arhats, four destroyers, Gonpa. It's not.
Then the Marisra, I know the order. She's not did it up. I got some mambuchi in the Mara. The names that I had to the Lepnegana to Chira. Sometimes it's Shiluda, so Yamudo, the nation I am some symbol at this cheek, Samutai Gurura. Manzu Chile and Andu get in the Chidu. Tep chipo calendar, Zamza Kalatida, Zamza Peta the Negalania, Manzu Tengalamagone, Pagan shadow, leader. Chesan Tin River Nalola and the Pembuer, Tundachi, the Dashija, Pesha, and the Chinamabur. Yama Chugalani, Petu Shinton, Chudo, the Carson Shagan, Nacho in a Nacho or a chipo laps and a dealer to you. Gilletta the Shag shit, the Tafshira. Aposhi shared the Pera Patson of the Shulu Tongora. The Tenda Zamza touched on Goma Sudigala, the Pesha Buddha.
Anyways, it's sometimes good to give some examples from to illustrate the meaning of what one is studying. So when we did that in the monasteries also, we could have just looked at the philosophy as such, but it's good to give some sometimes extended explanations and give some examples or illustrations to just in order to get a better understanding.
Dilemma. Not the human payment shadigal new year. Our Karshin Shigin, Totoch Machine, Digger Tingira. In a idea, share it, Tapshitra. Dilemma.
We sometimes thought that why don't maybe we thought the teacher why don't you go directly just follow what the topic is, but they were just trying by various means by giving all these examples and explanations to increase our understanding.
Chitangaranzagin Chiranza Gendri in the pool, Shadigala, Tandachipoha Magona, and Jadil Uduja, the Kushia Yamara, take Tabishim Batayang, Pa Pedro Tite, 네 실로시 인지도 기계도 엔드로 시기다 리무브 나라 시기도 데시션 받는 시기도 콜런디 상스당다 다다라 레 군조 송레라는 우즈제는 코시아요 말아 된다지너라 디게 시에 답제다네 소소기 딘델라는 시자 딘데치는 시자 리모트는 시자래 간데서냐 딘데치는 잠잠 밀라라테랑치다 엔드로 시 지당함 남디 엔드로 시에도 하스라
if the teacher say were to insist, I mean, if there's something that a student wouldn't understand, if the teacher just repeats, himself all the time and insists, but then there's not much hope really necessarily that the student gets it. So the teacher has to apply different methods, maybe make a painting or, look at it from a different angle, so for the student to get it in the end.
Okay. Tadini in the tongue of the dinner door, in the Inzatanda Harley Dulana Anzusunum cheese, a kitchapala, Nisra, Chitambada and Ra. Soon came my imbala and Chitambada pay dubas, a tambola, and Chitambad la Carla, Ani Sawa de la Ra, Kanshi Kami Minjuala is da, Kanshi de la Karku Dulana, Ani Zubegi. Sta zubainare ane sonominare karina chikten da temba indora da sonam kashi is nechi ta chik onna nechi da de zubani de korani de chi mina minju ge dewa chira
Minam kasa
mina minju dewa relation dewa la da ine tsatsi dna tengi midu dela da kashi kami minju was 와 가시 감이 민중화라디 배는 아주 소놈 사바다 가시 임바타스 아니 네바치바 된대기다 직 소놈 사바다 아니 직 네바치야다 된대 용거라 디체 원래 시바디 말라샤오라 되네 가시 유나 대윤지르스 배는 전화기 저바 고마 소놈로 사이나 개완주마다 전화기 미신바라 지게 네바치 저는 메개완주마 라 가시 있어 유나 저비는 된대기 아니 민나 미주게 되와레스 배나 대니 인디스 칸이 대니 대이 지나 세상 가서 수남이 쌓이나 아니 계획이 주차고래 아니 간도 디바메게와 멜레 네셀라 소바체와이나 아니 소소기 디베기 주차고래 대수서마 아니 미나미조인 데와르지레스라 제다 텔라 키제시스 시 편도를 세상 가서 세상 가서 저백 강사기 유이나 zobaladi sunum sayachires din zoba komsa gi yude ngazo chi mi duaro kare ne chi duaro sukoro de tie ngazo sunum sayagi ni judo kunin dewaji chagi resra tene ina ani mina minju gi dewala de gala chikchi ten de roji ten de la jo tene ro dewa res tene insa ani de la susule pen doje insa ani de la keche bari gi maresra
ke alo
So
Kangshi can be kaisa super yin chore. Super gewa lantene
zuba gomalatene gewa sa sonam saira. Ani chik su neba chewala chena ani megewa dipa saira. Tini de ani chi mena minjuge dewa che restra. Jinde gi dewa do. Tende insa ngazo gi chige sozuge kalor. Susu gi neba chini jina dia ani sonam saya gi shinji chawor. Ra.
So now we are at verse 104, which reads, if without it something does not occur, while with it something does occur, then since this is the cause of that, how can I say that it obstructs it? So it's not really, clear what it all refers to. But what this is basically saying is that, and the heading is that they are not obstacles to merit. So it's about these people who harm us, harm doers, people whom we consider our enemies. So, and it's saying that they are basically, objects, as it were, due to whom we can practice patience. And when we practice patience, then thereby we will, accumulate merit. And thereby virtue. And whereas if one were to engage in harmful actions, negative actions, then of course that would be demeritorious. And so there's this interdependence in the relationship between the person we consider our enemy, who's actually an object for us to develop patience towards, and then by doing so, we create merit. Which is in the end very beneficial for us. So therefore we shouldn't obstruct kaisa gari gagimari. We shouldn't kaisa gari gagimari.
Kare kayin.
Nitsi chicken ditla gagima.
Nitsi che nganzu pasobo gomra. Sobo gomwa ine sunam saira.
Yeah, dila wa.
Ra. Ta nitsi che ne panne wa che ine ani ji juya ji dungi ngura. Ra. Susu ju mi gewa ji sai ne debu dungi ngura. Ji gewa ji sawa ine ani dila kharaso debu dewa yimba de kuna mina minju ngi dewa lai. Ra. Ji de mewa ine debu de mewa. Ji de yewa ne debu de jungo lai. Mina minju wa lai ji da. Pena nga zoga pamaro ine pugudi yueyo mara. Judi sugi dujaji samine debu duja yueyo mara. Ra. Ji gewa ya pachi dumine debu dewa yueyo mara. Mina minju inde wale dinde rochide. Ine kana zogi inchi tsidina takara nige tsidina takara yo mara ra. Ine nge tsinde shimban tayo. Kante dudi. Tenda kunzo la ya pachi rato ora. Ra. Di tokdo le digala tsi shimban tayo digala deshi inde du.
Yeah, but I said it basically. So yeah. That these are interrelated, and by being patient, we accumulate merit, and by so that we should be patient with those people who want to harm us, basically. Yeah, it's not very obvious, what everything refers to. It's good to have a commentary sometimes.
Can I ask something, or it's better to save it to the next session?
Tandati watang na digere. Tandati watang na digere.
Kadiya.
Oh, Jima, Jela.
You
can ask. Yeah.
So, I need to be patient because there are people who make me be angry. But if they weren't here, I wouldn't have to be patient. So, like, they are objects to develop my patience, but if they weren't, I could be just happy. I don't need them, right? Like, I'm not happy that they are here because then I have to practice my patience and then to be patient for them. But I want them to disappear and then I can be only happy. And I don't need a patient. Like, the reason I need it is because they are here.
Không khá gì lúc so da gidin la yuna ene dila ngatsu ki da la tene ngatsu zupa gomgo gyo ene kisi konsu mena in zupa gomgo gyo mare ngatsu kiwo tang digere sisan konsu nga konsu gogyo mena yaga yore konsu zupa gomgo mare konsu mena kiwo do
dinde ngatsu nandi samgor tara Dad tiri nga zuba gongu du dad mena nga zuba gomsa mindu zamda tengora zamda nga zu khaji gola na dad tharimbu yene susun dele yiba na si sam ta de gora ra nga zu semba ni wora pena ngani chi maga ra chasuna tambu nga kola maga kondo ro chilang ra ta su zuba gom ta ke mala sha sha ir nge zuba gom yer jela chu khara khara sa da sa nga sa da nga la na la don kongala khari chene la ene jigla ene ni le te zuba gom yo mala ra 야 나로 되는 거니 카가래 찾다 코라코라 되세데 나가데 이네 카투 투고 말데 연 잠자 녀마게 제셔주데 텐데 야 콘돌라데 줘라 베트코르디 베 야메타시나 아니 저런데디 콘돌라에 시디 차고마 이네 저런 코라 카델레스나 어디데는 갈라 콘돌라에 기지 차이도스라 봐 근데 이제 코다 카테와이나 갈라 콘돌 나기 미들라오라
야 기부 nga 콘스 메나 nga 기부이
티 소소나 라라레 콘소 타르모다나 nga chibu isana ngone susugi tige chikangi du mare neba chijo du mare na chibure kena kisi genja phatarumudane ranja sano lo khodena kangi chiba chibare
well Geshema was also saying that sometimes we do remember say if we don't like someone and we are directly faced with them, of course, then we have their trigger, the anger in us. But then we go separate ways again. But still, then even though they're not there, we can still remember what they said, what they did, and then have anger in us. Then they got to tupa shore. Tamu lung ini kaga sacha shimbalado kaga
aja padot sana tanto susana tanto sabal kai raja de ra kondo raja nang da inji minji ki chora de midi thila go undos andela
yeah, so that's what Geshema saying, yeah.
But what I'm saying is like I don't want them from the first place. If they were to exist, like this situation, I wouldn't.
Yeah. In case Thosamling 내가 거기도 가서 뭐 마셔봐이나 되나 요말로 시장 Thosamling이나
세상 어디 가족이 라고라다나 가상에만 가상아도 담보도 되니라 수수지 뇌샤체 조조지나 콘도랑 조조지나 대파기다 유라 따지르스라 수수 유두제다 되게 콘도랑서 유들랑아도 만도네야 가서는 가서 참아께와 단다 상주 선바다 되는 사제나 매와 인자 아주 저보고메 칼카우다 근데 인자 담보니 찐디 마트에 치에라 먼저 탑시 땅 타린데 개치무리스 세상도 안데라다 지 먼저 취지기는 아니 고모타산다 리간라 데고에 칼라나 든진에 저는 든진 지키베 사상승이 메살라 돈 tinde기 전에 아니 콘조 가서나 저저하고 매네 그치 곰자에 저저 바지 지고라 바지 맞아야 치도 당분이 유도 테 맞아야 치도 가서 그치 자선 에너지 아니 곰전이는 가가 되고라 유도 디 가르친 데고는 가서 그 단단 가서 선을 야고 담에도 유도 가가 치야 다른 부대에라 베이디 개천 보여줬어 아니야 지상주 선바다 똑바 첨부 몸을 똑바 도불랬잖아 네 근데 그 상승이 시에 당서 뭐 토터서 가서가는 도드네 그 심벌은 저도 말해 봐 그것도 똑바 내두라 먼저 된데 뭐 이제 단도 유들라 소소기 방고에 개천 버렸어
Well, then Geshema is coming back to what she said a few days back when she gave the advice that we are advised to go to distance ourselves from objects that may trigger these afflictions. Because unless one is a high level, Bodhisattva with, quite some realizations, they can go anywhere, their minds remain stable and they don't, give rise to these strong emotions anymore. But for ordinary beings, therefore, it's good to be in a fairly solitary place, quiet place where there are less distractions, which don't trigger these emotions.
Penning pechen shawa nara gombal didi ani chinjin ma boy konzo shira ha mare bo ke jagre ran senda matho sana ke je kasakal jugro ta pen ngai ngi hommok ranjon do ya bo chi butena ta pugu chamazin ke jade se dilanga ranjo chi chi thumuda nga tebdu zuki singal pa taram botes pa do an sura kar chi gun ta chi ge ra 가서는 디 보고들랑 막아와도 되는데 말이지 콘족이 생이 지워라 되는 얘기 semba 투도디 딱따라서 야고 치동마라 아 잔자 보고라 좀 저기 잔자 아니 소소라서 체니디 부타버지리고 마라 근데 인천 잠자가서 내가 요거야 되는데 레고라
Or, for example, when I studied in a nunnery and I needed to do some self-studies and go over my homework, there were many smaller nuns. They were running around shouting and playing, and of course it was hard for me to study. I couldn't really do that. So what did I do? I took my book and went into the fields, to have some distance and sitting in a quiet place.
세상에서 시란즈 지산으로 컨트롤한 마지에 제일 차용우도나 수기다도 지마가사지에나라 니네급데스 카가샤 니 제일 괜찮더라 아베드 코라 코페드 다르라네 미스 간자콜라 두제다고 해케 말라 잔자 끼쳐도 신장 참부서에 탑시 당고라 이니야 니마답 가지모 가지시네 컨트롤 양자양자 나데기도나 컨트롤 라인우도나 데스 타르니 데제네 야시라 라 컨트롤 라인이 주뉴도라
I mean, if you happen to be, near people or near someone who consistently triggers our anger, if we, continue to stay with that person or near that person and then get angry all the time, maybe that's not such a good idea. So it's better to distance oneself from them for a bit at least. I mean, we shouldn't, completely see them as our total enemy and have try not to work. I mean, we should try and develop some loving kindness for that person. But if we stay together with that person for a bit, for longer, and then we have these strong emotions, it's better to be a bit away for a bit.
다 담보 코라 콘로야 말라야라 탑시 땅에 베케션 버라. 먼저 그치 밀니 자와도 야 최지레 니레 마블라니 미 콘로랑로. 콘로라에 기제 가서 쪼디 가는 Geshema washi tsik tsubula na dene lewo ani namju gala yamile phoya de legora namju du jate ra chini ganzo geshe tama shi chire ni re mamburla ni ra deshi chikine ya japshe do je ko ta all khope du jare chi mambushi de mi kundola ya ji chakora so tambu susu judi maso kechambures ta dene de ya chi kin do ji kundola ya ju masa ya la kechambures
ano
ra kundu mala ya thabshi tangora mile chik nandamada shi ande chidena kali kundola ya imbara nye kyorampe du jare ni mata ba shi de ne konala shi de na 메리 초코라 하고도라 라 얘기 ngani 계시 아 쳬베 두자리 지니 망부지 시에는 이마지 지나 그거라 아니 ngal 가르치는 시에는 그니 ngal 접시 망부지 접시 하고서 잡로를 기제 고스핀노래 네 데네로 망부 시에들 계시면 수 담부 수수 카디야메 망부시 남르치 수수이 계제 나자 인도도 참 시에들 지나 이마야디 쿤라라이 주차시라 근데 담보 소소게 배 계셔 있는 시에는 남주대는 하는 접수소고 배 계셔 봐. 주디 마사야라 계셔 보지. 아, 주디 사사 계시 콘도로 나야 되는 고추 레우나. 다 두두가라 수수기 봐. 미치 파게를 콘도 랑게나. 틀 카테 맞아야 돼 계셔 버시. 봐. 가스나 파쇼로나 드쇼로나 누니자 슈슈 몰라나. 아니 가도 메드 마소나. 메 바디가나 산음슈지로 차이라. 마르구라. 다야 계시 딘데지에 중바이네다. 진짜 칼로 투버쇼 춤부쇼 안지 마가로 차와이나 디젤랑 상노다 당 가진진데 진짜 진주마도 문도 왔어 들어가서 컨트롤 고야면 다 다른 게 디바사선 빼사선이야 만주바체니마 수수기 게 칼로 디바사샤디마 좀여기 치디야 게어두야도 주바체디야 대게 점으로라 아니다 딜리기 컨트롤 좀 군이 마가야 차선다 아니 디텝 컨트치고도 라 쇼니가 그돌 상노다야도 무슨 빼게 점으로 라
dicta
소소기 뒤에 터지다야 전부 차야기 그래 담보 소소기 담보 소소기 카다 지긴 남주다 라빠다 가리는 디야 버치고 그래 소소기 수중 야 버스 와 있는 인데 셔달리기 말해 메라니 자연도 고마자도 담다 계시셔도 담다 시라 맞아나 두절리기 말아 계실리 병도 따나 레비네걸 코에 콘돌라데 가야 나데 그래 콩알을 쓱쓱을 게 다가는 딱딱팔라 줄을 팔라서나 빼먹어 차도 되네 맞아지 뒤에 컨트롤 지어서 다 계시 컨트롤 이제 컨트롤 쇼지 나와이네요 제일 가르쳐 따디 컨트롤하는데 디마송 아니기 버룰을 찐 로저라 진짜 춘유지가 나니 전부 수셔서 다디 디마소서 이제 파쇼 수준 이제 상담하면 충분해 돼 베케죠 디마송의 수수 단 디마송 같이 다리 디파사스는 순 주바체와이나 주바디에 개와쳐 봐 어디 제게
yeah, and it's crucial to try not to get angry oneself or trigger anger in others by kind of watching what we say and watching how we behave. If we say everything we think right away directly to another person, or maybe start even gossiping. So, that would trigger more easily, anger in another person. And then, or if that happens, if we're with someone who gets angry, it's very important to try not to react, in the same way or similar manner to, try to retaliate, because that only, as we said also earlier on, that only makes creates an argument and makes the dislike maybe worse in each other. So we should reflect that if there's something that happened between someone or between some people, we can think, well, maybe at the end of the day it wasn't such a big reason, really, or a great reason for getting so upset about it, and thinking rather that if I get angry or that I've become angry, it's rather negativity, and I should want you to feel regret for one's negative actions, and then and that sense of regret that becomes virtuous in the end. And of course, we should then also try to be friendly with each other, harmonious, and have loving thoughts towards the other.
컨트롤라야라 디어라 젠이라 미치불 반죽 주야 말이라 그는 가니 로스 컨트롤라이나 나도 제 때는 여 다 컨트롤라야 돼 베나 코나페 니 미야 보라자이나 라 하시 미디다가 야보레 Zamza Narangi King, Nala Chichen and Natsaro, Solun, not Bebe Solun later. Italy in a house. Adi Komzi Susula, Senido, and then Susula Kangi Mamuji Teddy, Milan also launches the lead. When you know the Chambo, Koranja dear, Mia Ra. In a Narala Chikangi, Susuna, Kangi, Natinere, and Suzuki symbol chicken, Kalasatan, that Lung Pyro, and the Pivotal and the Euro. Solule. That the name ever in the chicken. Susuga Nagi Neda in the Susugi and Pugu Kalamanian, Choga Jame Baru, the Nigi Kangi Tebajil Tene, so simple Maji dear. Magical day, Mission Magic Tisla, Namsan Luna, Susilida. Tidugala, Ko Jamara, Ra, Ko Jamara, Sujan, Nature, and Narangi, Nedangi Jungi, Nasakurla Chile. Then he called Gonland and he called Hasara, Kari Nanugani Pechambe, the call of San Luna, Kukajaluna, and the Ko Naboros Lara. Then he Lula said, I'm Machi said the needed, and something ye parts to Bushadu. When you discover ye parts to Bushad. Zamza Sosola Chen restaurant, the patch, the parts with Jumare, Chen the Sosola years. The Niki Neta Zamza Sema Machet or the new Ra.
So anger, it arises due to various causes conditions. It's not just to blame one person outside, the other one who's at fault. Oneself can just very much be the reason for say anger or an argument that has come up. Say for example, both of you are friendly with each other normally, but then one has some problems in the family or has that lung problem. In Tibetan medicine they speak of lung, this wind, the energy is too much. It's like kind of like a type of hypertension. People are very easily irritated, agitated, and and then someone might have problems at home, and then the two of you are friendly with each other normally, but then one person just says one word, and then the other with that hypertension problem easily gets angry and upset. So that can happen.
Korami apochi dear, Marang Netang Yakoluna, Anikonga Lulu, the children, the land. Teacher. Chesanga than the pitch tansra, Yaman and the Ropoche, and in the recipe Pechamber. Any consume the hop to hop the moonlight. More the jur. Tango Karina could the lung hop the Christian language and some deba. Jelko Tohoto the moonlight. Me Tohoto Tombachan, Tohoto. Lungdo Chagisa. Namduko pay up or a thing, as ye parlor, cellar, ropache, pay up or Zamdako hopto and Lundo's Niger. As Jeltade, could Todo to and China, when I was a shogich to Bonakalina, you calabit Tambodore, Gobala, people will pay Tizurumura. And could talk to Uncle's Yop in the Kalishka, Purple Lundo's Niger. Karina San, Jelana to Hagosa, could the Lunagi or the Toto and Lunagi Virgin. And sometimes Suzuki didn't do the galadi. Teach you, biscuit the Nikki do ya. A colonna tigger, touch it, the Samajan, Choluna, the Latin, and the chicken. Chesna, big luna, the Kinzada, Zanda Nedan chicken, Zanda Totona luna, and Koran chiman in the luna, chicken, Susu Legacana luna into Mambura. Then Dam Nedan Damader. The other Susipuga and the two and Pagin Nedan, the kitchen British. Tell us how can I tell a chim, Jell? And Tandumusir. The name of the children, the Chamjadan. Can I tell you, Biscuit or the Nikima, the Jell on the Lanute, my later. And you get emotion Jewish in the head.
I mean, people are all different, right? People are more easily giving rise to anger than others. But there was a classmate of mine in the Nunnery, and usually she was very kind, helpful, helping others in their studies and whatnot. But sometimes, all of a sudden, she would just, get so angry. And then later on, we figured out that always happened when she was hungry. So there seemed to be there was quite a big gap between breakfast and then once they got lunch. So they figured that out, and then they gave her biscuits all the time. Or when they, went out for a hike or walk somewhere, and then they were joking with that nun. You better take some biscuits before, other than getting angry.
Mune ende do da mele kenza shedura. Ti ngara rai thomas nyamnyu de sas.
Anyway, that's what I experienced.
Shimba trai.
Do you have any other questions?
Odi ngune chiba chede be kecham bra. Lamsa mele chen zuya da chira dujar la ne mare. Sosula chen re phagila chen ne da condition dam there many different ra. So we want to check and slowly like okay. Ra. Yo mara ka ngi thing mara. Zamzang 파지부 파기자냐 라드나니 강이 망아 쳐도 잔도 소로 수수 노트에 삼다 파기 노트에 삼다 아니 칼리 마시에 답시다 라
Anyway, it's not always the other who's at fault and to blame, right? I mean, there are many conditions coming together, but it's us as well, right?
지 단단 알아서기 파 통샤 중에 기페라 파탄 라고 레하고친 먼저 통샤 주 신샤중 알아기 거디주 딘데도 산다 다 쇼치는 먼저 토마토에 산다와이나 아니야 레진들라 산다나 꺄왕하만 콩아라 아니 마가야로 말이 얘기 파치 유지리스라 라 수수기 녀마 꺄왕하만 얘기 콜라 마가야로 남주도 제대로 나라 체지리 다디게 남이 데부디 나라 뇽고 유지레사나 야 테스 심발라 나라서 펜사지로 나서도 맞자기로 근데 산다 대행이랑 라야도 칼나 나라서 레하포체는 남도 통어데 주 고데야 뇽데도 시고라 디게 산다나 펜도치라 치드 카르 메트 치드 카르라 나간조 꺄왕하마 녀콜라 파두제 치주 단당하를 치치기 유지 디산다나 수수 라시기 수수기 끼어로도 고츠르다 단당하를 쨘메 바이네 녀망가 쨘 유지라 근데 산다나 유지 치쇼치네
I mean, these are, examples that we can easily relate to, stories we remember, we went through, but of course we can also think, and we covered that also, we can think about karma that, we might not be at fault this time around, but we might have done something in a previous life, something negative, and so that's then, when we face a situation, and then the karmic outcome, so to speak. So thinking along those lines is also quite helpful.
Pena pema ushandine, kale kale. Sitang anzo pena ta peba rojine ta pichang ne da pe duje chawor ra. Pebagi pe jakabjira. Ne da pe duje cha suzugi sache dia. Chirang sache pe hingyur da ina yakata da me to ranshin shan sache tibu pikyura. Ani sache tibu de sha suzugi phama da pingya tsama khache. Ne na chirang za ngumba nashi mare ngazo pe de kalauta. Thenu nguya do. Sungusana pa loyal pekale cover. Kisi lodo in Jangana Zero. Ra. Kerana Jacobna Suni turned Padre turned ended. Tangazu in another town, Pekanye, Migi, Loching Marima, Michigan, Mr. Hanzaro Shiba, Shulula Dewa, Chango, Tindig in a chawar. That's shooting the sun of town, Pegula, and the daddy the son of the shooting within the sun. Humba chang in her. Ra. But he came to Marikan Hamaranzili Saikere. Dedo sometimes chiche. Chini yang ngachi pumari ngada do ni mi mangula nyom de gore. Di mai be Jacob Shimbala de kan yi judo. Peba chi pore mne Jacob Shimbala de kunzu ge chi ransen do matho ina ya. Chi sayu jaya do cholo jaya do matho jaya do kan da mrdo. Zamliga. Ra. Tende tan ya so chi pumari sha mi samala kan ni do. Nganzu khwala ne bi shugora kan yi chanja sha tene samtaung de so Shimbala ya te jach mo chaida. Ra. Shochina Santana as a Missy Yomotoyama, the Sulumba Katepu, Casa Pamada, the Samakatini, Milumbachine, Michi Momahin, Sajasawachile, the Shini and Tamotamo, the Kazikaleger, the Sakamba, the Sajam, Tajaga Katichimbachin, Anzola Sajatia, the Momuchera, the Derimato, Pecalera, Ra, Numbashim Bajin Shini, and go to the Sora. Ra. Taina Shochin Sanda, the lady, the Johamang, Ranso Paduje, Chijure, the Nedo San, and this Sokorashima, Sambashiruda.
Or to give another example, how we can shift the way we think. For example, now taking the Tibetan situation, for example, Tibet as a country per se is a beautiful country, but obviously in a very difficult situations, and many people, many families got separated. And many people, many Tibetans came over to India by escaping their homeland. Others faced, prison, time in prison, and from free countries, you can go here and there as you please. And so, whereas some Tibetan people, spend their whole life outside of their home country, which even might have led to some people really becoming mentally unstable and unwell. But if one shifts then the way one thinks about the whole situation, then one can think, we must have done something negative in the past, that and now we are facing the karmic outcome. And also thinking that Tibet is not the only country that faces problems like that. There are other countries where the people, the population also is not free, or countries at war and so forth. And samsara as a whole is, by nature, suffering. And so this is another example to illustrate how we can, shift the way we think and become a bit more broad-minded. And then also, so that. That's the main message.
So, chezo. Tatende indigala ta ngabzo ge tanda china suzu khonda chawjune mi bia zube kola khande loya dis gichamura suzu chapa chamanga jala di godi pe dawam chamujine tanda zu chigi chapa de chamri ba yudu zu pe tarashing madu baro the sometime mabujura the sometime korashi chapa nyude shutaji metabare shu tabatembu digmar the sana chapa zamanyude chetan su kundo chawajina ni jizubele ula sopadana lo ane jese de shanshu sambada de zo korlo ane shoina rashigima ale khunso ende yakorna de chimadu we kare saya chik sanu rat ruma mabuta ya so chikjibu mai bara korajana phashota chuta karina khanda sanu karmo kharta su chibu we sanu zogura.
Anyway, so there are different, ways, different methods, to learn how to, change one's way of thinking, to look at issues from different angles. And then, here, obviously, we talk about, diminishing our anger, working on our patience, looking at what and how the Bodhisattvas practice. And then likewise, we also spoke about attachment, working on one's attachment and clinging to material things and people, by contemplating that things are not stable, impermanent by nature, and so forth.
Ngona yela ngazo kama me do shimbasa dena kota taya ma susu penanga chicken de Geshema nga kondo chaw de yesana ani kondo ma chama ye jikhande sanu khande tango do tep kare lo do de sanda ra tene do susu penanga zo chin nawa ena susu amji chalam nga din na yudul na satel mete ro chila yo ra nga la na do shi na yudus nga dig mete ro chila na digo mara susu khare go enda udi kangi kawte na udima Taya is sitting on some Tato Chemo de Gehsema, Susted Pabi and Elosia and some time at the Gehsema. She's a meeting never in Karinagin, then a Lord of Chimbanagan, Chimbamagurumish, Kerala, Chimbamigitsala, and also Rukoma Nae Chido. She stayed in the Pingmara. She paid the Channel Loma Mujagi and Channel Karim Hedota. Channel the Juero stayed in the Pingmara. She's a lodger in the Nalum lawyer tie me meteor. Tinasi Churangi, Karigita, Nazuki, Kundusha, Natsala Peshani, Theatre Part Mevasoya, Tajikardu, Mendrojin, Karasaudu, Tinasigi, Nazu, Tato Chimbo, Chimbukarina, Konto Chimbukarina, Tiban Jayagari, Tips Carlo, Levision Karachi with the Sano Kandatang, the Diakichamura.
So it's important to study and refer to the various texts that speak about all the afflictions, what kind of afflictions there are, and how to overcome them, by changing our attitude and the way of thinking. And so, it's important to study about the specific methods to apply to, work on one's anger and attachment and so forth. It's just like the same as, when we have a headache or a cough or whatever health issue. It's not good to take, some ointment when we're having a cough, so it won't be a benefit. Or when we have a headache, we need to take the specific medicine. So likewise, we then need to refer to these texts and methods that describe and teach how to specifically counteract the various afflictions.
Lome Matu che China, Tundu Shazero Chudina Pay.
No, I know.
I'm tapping this, but away.
Any other doubt, question?
Get this. Chasing it and the children to the pet and dumb the shady, this pengy sometime. The truth there. Pedro Sha, Shira. The Samotanga, the Nanga's video, the Gala. Chisamotanga, Sunjutuela, Hentogues.
Is that helpful to understand the text? Because we now talked a lot and gave a lot of examples. Is that beneficial?
Yeah, when I get to watch it, to the Langi, Lampe Momajara.
So it was just one question, but we gave answers to that.
In the Samotana, the Nangachimbo in Zanning, Lamb Bajara, Tinde Samotana, Tinde Mambuslan, Kanda Gothamjin, the Natakani, the manure, and Chidra. In some they tragically and the name of Harina Samsigra.
Roman type doubts, why it was just one question, why are there so many answers to that? But it's just to give different examples to view it from different angles.
Yeah, but I think it's really helpful because then we can reflect on the many times that maybe you read it once and you really don't when you're reading, but then when you're giving examples, then you're like relating to all these times when you maybe the examples that we've explained, it has happened in everybody's lives or something similar. So I think it's really good to really go into each verse and talk about it. Yeah, it's really.
There is a table of the Gala, Mikashiki, what tape did that I did any idea, Momsus as a Rochida, Mikashiki. What the Junju Tata and a patient Tata and Oma Tata. That's how it's a midi woman. Raha, Ikalana, Annie, Benanazogi Shiloka, Suzuki Chiklo, Dilanazogi Quara, you don't know how good to me, how good to know. Then Yamagi paid that turn the Mambujis, Yamanga Dosaju in the Shire, Ra. Tanazogi, Diloni. So to Nahago, that is jealous so you pay. That penanga and that deal Karasan Tango. Udita Pikichum. So zero Tara. Tape low, page Mamma or Shuchilora, Shuchilo, and there are some time, Ra, Susanta. I'll tell me the Sunshas. Then tape the Manipur and Javakardu, Ra, Temna the Sunsha, and ye can't show. This sometime Pikichum. So zero time. Near Kachu, near Kachu, being on the paper. Temna or the Resha Madrasana, and Zamza Shira Pemda. Zamza Suzuki, the Mila Palaya, Chiche. Zamza Suzuki, Susu Karichu, Temna, you put it in the Resha. Tangarak Niekar Digala, some Karistango. Then the Tania, Tembudia, and so la Pendo Shadow.
Yeah, one might think, I've read this book and that book and studied so many various subjects. Which is good, but it's not enough, right? So we need to keep on checking ourselves or kind of give ourselves like an exam. So when we say read a page and then, we have understood the meaning, but then we can go and check what is really the benefit and how does that really relate to me personally. So that's an important thing to do, and that makes one's understanding more stable and deeper.
No more ways, Jimbe Kiche, your mice, Red and Jimber, Chichurpa, Rochum, Kiche, you made that color Lanachanga. Sunamchi Kicheba, my impasse, like that. That Zodita is agitated in the Shra, Sunamki Kichebadi, and a Kicheju Maridosh like Dora. The day in the Tandadilla, Tuesday Chimbi, Homo, La Digala, and it's Muzi Juno so Shagora. Tindegi and Jesu Yubia Jesu Chimbi Homo, and Jesu Yubala, and a Tomala Tower, the Jamba taking Jambaton and doing it in Digi, and a Casa de la Asera, and a Tuesday Chimbala, that Homo way in Digi, Jambaton and doing it, Casa de la Hongadura, Honsadura Tamasra, and it didn't the Jimbe Kichi, you might Jambatanga like kitchen and Mate Alado, today and Chiju Marella Yusra. Teach any red in Jimbara Chunjuba. Chesa Aninganzo Rodu Chumala, she gets on with the wedding, you can any rejum. Rojuna, Mishimba, the Jimbati, Jimbala Soba, Ton, you can't delay, Tijiomas, the Rigi Kichi, Marestra. Mayimpara Kendala as a Rajuki Kitcheba Rumos. Chesan, the K, Kimbo in the Labo in the Genu in the Tendelangazuki, Jimbatonjo Marilla and the Kitchewaina, and this no Mayimba Chagres. Tina Tara Reda, she not taken in Jitula.
So now we're looking at verse 105, which reads, "A beggar is not an obstacle to generosity when I'm giving something away, and I cannot say that those who give ordination are an obstacle to becoming ordained." So as I understood the explanation, it's all about we should not obstruct kasa chimpatangen tangtugen
Digi Zawad Dinala Kalanga, Sindistua. Ane tanda Zawad Tarache, Ani Zay Yujing, the mission budget Juno Yorwa. Zay Yujing is Tonga Tola, the Tonga and the way you can. Tonga Toy, Tus, the Niki Tus, Chimbi, the Homo and Hoadora, Mujade. Chimbi is Chimbi, home base, Takura, Tirujan, Hora. And it did Jimbe, Kitchapa, Yuba Mindes, the mission budget, Chocolate, Marital, and the Kitchewa, Chichera. Tachid, Shimbadi Hamasa. Somebody any Rodu Chuan and Zorajun to a Rajun that Tower and Karinara, Rodu Chua Chevan de Besera, Tell a Rodu Chuan Jimba, and the Rajun Jimba that Jimbate Valesra, Chiba Chubitse, Kelala, Suba Rajunki, say Kicheva, and the Chigi Mikashigita Kashigi Yambaro, Machigi, Lamada, then the Chipugo Samara, the and the old Rajun, the Lamala Gomarachi, Gomaran, Yampa Kayajura. Machu age. The mission buggy, Mashimba Jimbastang in a Tango Marilado. El Chibaro, Pulamado, the Rajun Jipuna, the Pugo Mares, the Lady, Kalana, the Ketchaba, Jimbegi Ketchabara, Jimbatan the Ketchaba. Ketchaba in the Tinde Ketchaba there, and I did a lot of color. Sonoma Iva Savar, Sonoma Ivili, Miguel rest.
So Geshema is referring to that to particular commentary. So the way I understand it is that we should not, obstruct in a way those people who want to be generous to a beggar, a person who goes begging. And so if there's some person who wants to give to them, and then yet another one, hinders that, kind of benefactor, the person wanting to practice generosity, then that would be demeritorious, or. And then, it talks then about the ordained, those who give ordination, like the abbots. We should not, if someone then, it doesn't really show in the verse, then if someone were to want to make offerings to those bestowing ordination or to a holy object. We shouldn't. But so the main idea is we shouldn't hinder or prevent people who want to practice generosity to be generous, because that would then be demeritorious.
Establish it that with examples. Possibility and generosity is when that I am giving that something. And I cannot say that those who give this ordination are the and obstacle and call a and becoming the order Chigraping the Zula Mati lad.
Indeed, Sigmare, the petition of Pango, the Susurang Jimpataya ki Bachi Yomare, Pango di Bachi Yomare Sido, and in Dinden Nangshin, Kempura, Rapjung Dompa Gitsu Dompa Tegen, Rapjung Dompa Raya ki Bachi Yomare. Kempo bache dang
Kempo bache dere
Mikyobo di bache marisi di tana kaga kagare
lila ni la da ra je ji to ma to la du si chim ba homo wesra homo besa jimbe ki che ba la do wa jimbe ki che ba yu ba ma inde ro do chungwa je ban de be se ro chung ni jimba che ba chubi se kenlo la so ba rajungi is a candle sobala and rajungi keche chawa marunga. Takanda jimbara sobala tebala, the kitchen. Tabadi no pango di kaledu, de la injipara.
Yeah, pango roa, pango ani jimpa tanga yura, jimpa tangen yura. Ni pango di jimpa tangen di gibachi marwa. Disigre.
Pango della jibatangi che paje mata, tapena negi chunangi mission basla jimbatang devache, not a mudo than you and Negi tai the way you're quarang longa yure, Shimbaji chunanga matia.
The city
Ardo, Udigarache, any time the Gachi mission baji can the lobo the Rojune, Chipuina, Yadi Mapua lad, sick ended to school.
Dompa tea.
Domapu mata.
The Mari Cambola, Mishembala, Chupapia. Yeah, lava. So anyway, to be clear, the meaning that comes across in the verse here in English is different from the explanation in the
Shin tested Mandara. That in this year, Tada, Tijilla de la Carledulana, Chirangi dig Gamma dig the Oma that Tengudu, Chirangi Homo in a Ola and a Carasor chick, Concho in a Kunil Chebashida Mebarush. You all Mashik, the Diltania, Mazon Devad, the name Bahakudra, teacher Tatana. Dilla do Redu Cooper Chew Sambala Nis. Tango Yule, Yulo Tommy Yomaris, Pangodo in a re, Chijebu the Lombo Carinere, you Saji in a Kanji, Yula Sonam Sai, Yula Chiba Yomarella. Says the Chiba made Yunde Chiba is a Cuba Chawa Tangosa, Tumbala Teba, Cuba Chawa Chesa, Yunde Chiba Chiba in Biggie and in Cuba Miller Kush and Susola Chicken, Color, Yunde Chigri, yes, Laura. Chenangazo and the leisure pig down Tambela, Naji component and Degi Chims, so Nai something, Kola Shin and the Rai Maris, Chesangaji Malavura, teaches Migi Yunde Chiba Chiba, and Kuba Chiba, Kuba Chiba in a Susan and Dechigis dry, and Dechiba in base, and Kuba Chava dance, Tambala TVs, Kuba Chava, Tamba Saji, the Zulangazuki, and Temba in Sani Tebachi or Asra. Yunde Chiba la Kuba Chavala Suns, Rala Pen Dochi, Rala Pendocha, made Shimbala Kuba Chawena, Ranilani, a Pento Yores. There, Sajina.
Yeah, this intitola, this tire, this career.
Teacher. And he, Sambe Pen, Dilla Tagaramaton and Ye Karshiva de la Shandura. The next Sambe Sambala Pento Chawa, Ra, so the next Sambe Goni and Pento Chawa. Sambe is a Yunde la Medupa dance. Temba dan Dava, that go to that. Did that? Yeah. Ane Tambola, Pendo Chavala soon, Shinda. That told the Dodo Karshel and the Galangomazone camera, or the color Shin Chebachena as a combatant, Shin Chebachen. Shin Chebachena combatants, tell us a Gawar Ribatans, tell a Pembi, Samba was. That Shin Chebachena combala di la cousin and Jideng and Alola. And Jiden and Homo Mers, Jiden Alanga to chicken Jimbegi Sing Homo in a never cheba that the nigger to that's never chewing it, tell Zubacomsa Yuchaura, Zubacomsa Yura, and never chibagi and Shin in a re, Tunzu Sama Carolina, Chinangi delayed the combates, etc. Pen Magena. Dada Penny Magena Guy and Bamay. That didn't allow me to go like to carry like Dusana. Chitangi Homo in and to Jimbatan, the Sonum Sai, Uji, yes, Ra. Uji Chayure, Aninganto Zobogum nobody, any Dirilla or color. Sonum Sai, Shiji Chayure, yes. That Homo Adam to Shillo door and Homo Honkin the Mamutudo, Ra, and the Sonum Tituina, Jimbatan, Kogup, Mara Idus, Ra. That never changed this new rule. Should I like not to Zobogomsagi, sing that this Rakaway, Ra. Since I never chiba Kumbala Digala, no, Monzuga Zuba Chisagi, and no jade, this combo is. Countess de la Waina, and the Tarapani Majeba, Yegi Pala Mission, but no Majena, Solaching Magawa and the Chi Controlani Humara. Suzuka Patam Duji, she needs a control land in the chair machine. Somebody's home to Zula, Tamboso Pachigum, the Shilo Droning on homogeneous, Buddha, never in a ray, Benjamin Hojani in a ray, the Mamutudas. Zuba comes to a new real.
So Geshema's reading through the outlines. They're a bit differently presented in the Tibetan anyway. So the main points here are thinking that they are objects of respect, and then they should be respected since they generate good qualities, and there is a great benefit for oneself. And then again, subdivided with the subdivision, supreme fields of merit are rare. And then, so looking into verse number 106, there are indeed many beggars in this world, but those who inflict harm are rare. For if I have not injured others, few beings will cause me harm. This is all still to do that. This has to do with the fact that we shouldn't distinguish, between who is a worthy object of offering and who is not. And then Geshema was saying that there is a saying in Tibetan which kind of goes like that: no good qualities will be developed on the ball, or if some in someone who on the ball of pride, the Tampikan is ngageki.
Ngajige kombola yondegi chumin jarola chumin sa.
Yeah.
So there ngajit khanda khalo na ngaji chumoina suzula lebi ki chadraya mars.
I don't know how to say it nicely, but no good qualities will be able to generate on the ball of pride, as it were. And then, so what this verse is mainly saying, that when we go out, outside, there are usually quite a few beggars that we come across, or people who are having some health issues. We can make offerings to, and thereby accumulate merit. But likewise, and then it says then there are few of those who inflict harm, so our enemies. But nevertheless, they are the object of our patience, or the basis for us to develop patience. And likewise, in relation to our enemies, we have a good chance to practice patience and accumulate merit.
Tadigi karlagduna ani tela gawari bas lagda penang zugi kundo sasa jum neba chege da chi kundo sasa gi shijile oina tela ngado ka khoma kondo bala wachine ani ngegi zoba ko mege yudre san suge gawachi gure la ro stigda gawari bas khasane nyewe kar teve se nyewe madu para ngazo gi bezu chine drachi ngana tambu drachi su bezu chimoko banzang ngazo nalo la tuba ro nami gi paru ina tende chi gi kangi jile gola ta tuba ina re si neba che ro tende chun tiste jungoro tide yume di kana ge bezu chine ngazo ba komso yudi susu pa inji minji kali je cheba maina nalo la zamza thamani be tiste jungoro as wa ani tikarala na chim de ten ni ba tarala digala ngaraz ga rangi chim nalo ya terni ba tela na hausa mineral ra
It's a treasure.
ba petsa chimbu de ni ba na shi yesra chimwa tars ani shanju chebi tro chebe tindebi ani neba chunju khalana soso nga shanju duege ani shanju chebala dita zoba gona sana shanju guba chagora zoba gona ge ani yu tindege ani kunzu ngi tro resasta ngala pento gudus ngi zoba gona pento gudus tinde inza dagi tela as dagi dala gawar chel chisa tindegi suso la chuneba chingeda an tindegi dawdela suso ba gawache gures krangi pam bezun chini pe kale de tambo drach chaga doyo marwas krangi khatule gures ti kharla na tenye bana sigi pe ten do de chi suso ku chawa chemani na gagro ajino mojra tenna sigi krangi tela tandu pa khondola ye sabla krangi gagu gures gagu ye de kharla na krangi zoba gomyagi shincha gores krangi sonum saegi ani gedo chagor 근데 todo chagor 근데 인도 chana들 gawari gres chana들 controlaya marela.
Then verse 107 reads, "Therefore, just like treasure appearing in my house without any effort on my behalf to obtain it, I should be happy to have an enemy, for they assist me in my practice to attain enlightenment." So this is saying again that those people who harm us in any way, they're actually an object because of which we can develop patience. And therefore, we should have a liking for them. And so it's not. It's also saying so that we don't have to go out and create trouble or so, or search for trouble, or search for someone whom we consider our enemy, or usually we can think of our family or other relations. The problems usually do come up automatically. We don't have to make an effort or search for them. So we do have the chance. Anyway, so and this is saying, we can, we should really like them, like people we have argument, we might get it, or well, the danger might be to fall into an argument with, or who trigger our anger, because they're an object we can practice patience with, and patience, after all, is also the practice of a bodhisattva, right? As it says here, the enemy assists me then in my practice to attain enlightenment. So practicing patience, which is one of the bodhisattva activities, will eventually lead us oneself to achieve enlightenment.
당원서 깔림도 라 저바서 강세기 히디 스스치레 단도 나디 저바 검사를네 선 로바 심바시 당와이네 가와제르도 라 남디 가서 콘트라나사데 가마가사레레죠 단도 쇼바가 저 타린 따야죠 티단다 타 니르단 가 저바 검사르선 쇼치레 가고에게 니 책도 왔던데 디 시나치네
And we often find these people very near to us, yeah. And they normally would react angrily, but we should rather be happy about that chance to develop patience.
근데 단단한 찬스를 백깔 커버라. 라, 데스깔 커버차게. 디 비아포 그거야 벌써 상투만. 라, 나라서 단단 가도 있는데 상투만 쓰이네. 데스깔이 이네 지나기 오니구나. 미 삼타 냐메야 포치니지나 디 콘졸라 다칼로. 그거야 보지 차게. 다가줄라 그거야 마셔지. 딜레 파 콘돌라 줄라네. 두르도행이 거라. 디양아도 소소소소라 산타기타기 아니 다리는 가와샤부디 때라 라
I mean, it was quite difficult to think in that way, right? But I mean, yeah, but so it's difficult for us to think in that way, if we face someone whom we dislike, right? To think, it's a great chance, to develop. But yeah, if someone, is a real, true practitioner, they will be happy.
라 오늘 스마라 수다라 수 두르르드나 타렌타 이즈바 거서 거기 앞에 두삼부터네 타니데 수수수술 따라
Again, we have to check ourselves. Yeah, if you think, my anger gets bigger and bigger and graver, then it's better, distance yourself. But if we think, I can do it, then it's good to stay close.
Yeah, and, an example, when I was here for the Bodhisattva retreat, during check-in they asked everybody for the mobile, and I don't know, we were 70 people, 25 said, no, I said I have my books on the phone, blah blah blah, I need to keep the phone. So a lot of people kept their phone. Then they had their books, they didn't have the phone for class, but it was so distracting. Because there was people talking, as soon as Geshela go away, they're on the phone here talking, on the dining room talking on the phone, so it was very distracting. And for me, I was internally, I was I went to Chashi and tensing,
Meenakshi, the other one.
Yeah. And I told them, what is this? I thought it was a silent retreat. I'm like, I'm not, I want to. And they're like, no, but, so for me, it was like a way to work this. In the end, I was okay, not trying to think about it and not let it bother me. And in the end, I was okay, but the first days, it was this rising, and I couldn't concentrate, all the time thinking on this. And it's like, how disrespectful, but then you let it go, and it's like, okay, no, I need to let it go, because then if not, I'm not gonna get anything from the teaching if I'm thinking about this other people, And in the end, for me, it was okay, But, it's a way of practicing, and it takes a while, I think, to realize and see how because I think in the moment, when you have the emotion of you don't think, so then once you start, okay, maybe this is happening for a reason. Maybe it's a teaching. Maybe I need to learn something from this. You know, and if you see it the other way around, then you feel better.
This kalan kari kara Bodhisattva chi konzo ki gomdo jain sara. Didi gala ni mide zo phon ke chog mar la res.
Ni se chashi dire yo.
Ine chama phon ke gela phon da ya da.
Chama mare mi kashi mi mambo yore mi dunchi chama yore di nang ne chi sen ni shi chama phon ke.
Tene ko
kasi konzo nga dep ni phon dep ye segido ni. Tama dep yore dep ngone yore. In darong kapa peje che yore di konto sas. Ini dia kale da susu samlong tang gyosha in tama desha kansena kongto mutune kangto sangna dene geshe kasi doje tamjola kari sungye tame yaponin to samare tama desha
de tete nga salon tang da be chiba ra le do komedo ani le komedo yang ye pechi shewa inara nyemo nga zu yitsa tang de gaden chuni le do ko ma chunju da 당아서 있다가 되어라 무슨 정하는 거 샤서 디 올라 당아서 도만이 내 가고 숨부라 여기들 빼 랑가라야 디도 그라 모라야도 마도 바바도 다 버르네 슈춤부든도 다때는 이제 간다 땅 토르 천세 담보 먼저 다와시기 라죠 쳐 이제 다야라
도치
라죠 소소 라죠치 아니 다와치기 지랑 가서 이제 기심하기 있어도 아니 거기서 바바나데 거기 먼저 디 랑가 다가라 있는 거저 디가랑 칠르 컴바 디가랑 가는 칠르 랑가스다 아니 바바야도 바도 뭐 그러가라 마물로 이도 개버로 tum도 담보 가서는 데베다 니마가 조제도 빼깔래도 니쿠나 구주금인도 데블로나로 tum도 디 신차전에 야보 용무다 다들 용선 말다 이제다 다 무슨 말에 빼깔이 차서도 찬서 제제라 니마 섬시가로 버르도 디 다디 디르시가 야메다 가야도나도 마도나도 sometimes jelete slil how chas 계산하고 고메도 가리나 담보 미치고 데데디 하나씩 그런 텐션이 야보여라 상승들에 대한 뜻 마가로 제가 내 다리까지 곰데 근데 여러
Again, to share another story, when I studied in Thosamling, and we once we had to do some exams and take them up in MacLeod in Gandenchuling, in the other small nunnery, and we stayed in a guest house very nearby. But of course, it's very noisy up there in MacLeod, right? So many cars go up and down, you know, a lot of noise, and so for I guess several days, if not a week or so, I really had a hard time studying and sleeping, and was so irritated. But then after a while I got used to it and I kind of were able to ignore the noise. So yeah, this is all to say that things we can get familiar with different things.
그 가장 그두게 가서 온다는 가서 생리를 야제 돌려줘. 미치기 저한테 또 생리를 야제나 아니 밀어지 태야다 통야다 다 멈춰라. 근데 이리가 디전 카리를 내손사. 지수 카리기 괜찮. 전 카리를 스타 상승이 멈춰야라.
아니요, 디디수 레팔라.
내가 생리도 야제 돌을 때는 아주 다야 통야 멈춰라. 상승이 멈춰라. 아니 디전도 카리를 선디 파기기 추차도 둘라 게 야라 쪼여요 말이야. 딩은 저기 다보제니 수수기 배주 간다 땅에미 로 배주 땅에 때 미싱도 만담을 열어 디 배주 땅에라 라레기리마도 하기를 코지기 아제도에딜레 두자레 야버다니 파이전주 주에 스케어 말레스
이니 디 상해싱기 키큐엔 수수기 레파 키큐엔 카리에다 메디코라 페시시기 말고
제 생리 아제도는 담비도 저러 냠마이나 지기 lumba 쿠조 지 던제 줘보제 아니 지 상승시라요 말어 이상 모자이나래 폰이나래 지 인터넷 그런 잠이 인데도 참 마음부터 거리고라 봐 되게 셈발을 누지기도 와서 하나서 상상하다 된들 누지기도 하라나 디 표저 땅이다 소소기 딜라라래 그래마도 파기 딜라시라 치버요 말레스 지난 상승이 용고요래 이내 소소기 상승이들 마보다 fondos pedir mabotan sosugi mabo chiva ina de sone gormen 다 게마 데 추ren bo direção so goe gudi pedir ta mago shashana di pedir ta ni rale gresumsa
so the mind and life the kasang di di kapso there was a mind and life conference not so long ago up in Solis residence. And so they had a meeting and discussion. It's this program where they have these discussions between Buddhists and scientists, and they we're then discussing what the effects are of the modern technology, as I understand. So, and then, but the main message that came across, it seems, was that it's not the fault. And then, so they were discussing also the scientists were investigating the effects of these modern technology on the brain and whether it has any negative impact. And so then the outcome was apparently the message. What His Holiness was saying is that. At the end of the day, it depends on us, how we are using it. These items, it's not the fault of these things, but it's us, how we are using it, which it might negatively affect our brain or
Ta tanda dilang zo di dora. Pembi sambar chawari baale. Ra tara khora khatu done asare. Dila karila desna ani dande ta sa dagi zuban de dupe isra. Zuban de dupe na sa niga zubi gi ju tokwa ti shir zuban de bu shangshu ni su nyu chen de la sa thomara darshin hor cha gudes dada date ni dagi shangshu dubi su zubi ju topden yin bishiros da 픽슬리든 고쳐서 다가로는 고쳐면 자신이 가던 데를 쓰라 팀바 스티기 전에 뜻 고쳐 간다 가르라고 그러서는 안쪽에 딜라디가란 데다 다기 아니 두베나 슬라다 근데 단디 딜레디 단디셔라 단데다 아니 다기 주베 단데다 다기 주바니 디셔라 아니 테네 두베나 니가라 주비기 주 똑똑이 지금 다이나레 아니 수수기다저 이갈라데칼라 다기 수비기 두베스 수수기 주바도라 강이데 요라 주바체라 다 수수기다 컨트롤한세게 다디체 안데도 주바 공고라 칼레치데 요레스 티 칼레 자와다나 아니 바기기 다니자 가르스나 간조기 아니 zubi judini to tigi ta gewe juri la yusra gewe juri chagires cheza zubi gi debu shangchu ne teza zoba gomala tene nganzu debu shangchu tawa jura ani shangchu deni neje indela so thomar neje la de dara so barora tire ani dashi ho achbala pha meba so go re la yusra tin neje de meba so neje ba daba chong la mada susu ta zoba gomni dadia khonro ya la ma chu ye che tanda dala de inji minji pe shulu nzig zuya tene ma ra tinum ho chede tene dati nesa dagi shangchu dubi su zubi gi ju chedang ge shochi na sawa ina ngazu gi dala so badi ani shulu gi daro ina ngazu shangchu dubi gi ani ju top den res ju top den ta kanji mani kharala ola na dala sambe gi kasra dala phebi samba chawra rigla na cheda dadi ta ingela la sa dadi gi susula zuba gomsa gi yures chedan digi ngazu la khatu ta na ngazu la nui chi gi do sa ma 펜토그요레스 가스나 가족이 타바다 탄시점마다 샹슈 두야라 아니 텐데 위다디 간줄라 펜토그요레라.
So verse 108 reads, and since I'm able to practice with them, they're worthy of being given the very first fruits of my patience, for in this way they are the cause of it. So this is saying that both one's enemy as well as one's practice of patience will become the cause, our causes for us to accumulate merit and eventually to achieve enlightenment. So, and because, in particular, now referring to these enemies, the outer enemies, because they are the objects due to which we can practice develop patience, they're very helpful to us, and therefore we should think that they are of great benefit.
Di o de la kalana sambi pen to wala sun se pen to be samana de do sa kete tile zuba da de da de za ani pen to me be se zuba go wala se ni be samba yube chu yin be chu me be se me te pa dang se tena tile zuba mi jin che bi chu ba cha wari ba was da pen bi samba me be se chu member me te pas ji game pena halana kede esra kede zuru sang me base kede ganzo gi pena pagitela mila chinga zuba goma ina kede es dagi is jula ra dagi jula as zuba dube samba me base dandela sa dandi is chocha me shena wana gewa dubana s jurwa inde tambi che s koncho chang s chang s chite s chus tapena ngazuge anzuge zubaro shi gomai na pagi zuba komsa digi ani ngala ji yapo chesunla ni korang shira ha ma gona ra
Also kitabe session.
tena ngazu dado shile zuba gomai ende chigora ni korang gomnyu digi ngala zuba gomsu sala korang sam ke yo mare ine ngala zuba gomai ende sne gewasa gora gewasa ba digi ani ngazula ani tinde dadila ani khasa kesi ngazu dadila ani kola dine samba meba insa ngazu gi kola chuba chigi mes kola da chuba piyala so dili chigi mes ra dandela chuja me shenas dandi ngazu gi chuba che da kuba che yu mares gagoya gi yu mares kalna kola dine gi sano yo mares ngala chuba che so gawa che chesu na kola sano yo mares te chuba do ra kesi kana ge dinde samba ina ani kana ge konjo da hada ngazu dinde la ngazu chuba pi ni chigi yo ra chidigala ani dubai ina juro me da tambi che control ra control chance chidi cheese control de 저한테 캔더로 되도 하고 그저 말 치치바 피기에 하고 라 자 멤버 텔 개와치 버러스 집이 삼바 메비셔스 제가 아니 갈라 개와도 삼바 딱 한다 가르라고라는 도 뒤와이나 도도 가르시와이나 파기를 코노 요나리 메나리 수수응어라 답다 야포치니 치고래라라 파기를 갈라 야포치 수 삼거드나리 갈라 야포치 수 마사나야레 수수응어라 하산나다 제디 디키시면 도도 되시라 인지 시그널 따라 리다
Yeah.
문들란데
So
디스카레카보다
verse 109 reads, "My enemies should not be revered, since they have no intention for me to practice patience. Then why revere a suitable cause for practice, the sacred Dharma?" What this is saying in essence that the enemy, which, as we said many times, is the object for or the person then due to which we can develop and practice patience, and then there's this doubt again or debate coming up, saying someone, my enemy, that person has no intention whatsoever to benefit me, or so therefore why should I make offerings or be respectful to that person if they have no intention to help me? But then the idea is that whether they have an intention to benefit me or not, we should nevertheless be respectful to them.
Tadi odre kalana nubi yesra samba yubes nusen yubera nusen yube choja memba kisi yani nganzo ge jidang ye jidda de la ani susu ge konzo la ani nganzo la tsunuba chege inzang konzo ge nuba chege inzang ani nganzo ge de la ani chuba chege mes konzo ge chuba che yu mare sam memba di mare samye de thigi mares tende chena digi mare la ora pena kaza dala nganzo jempatane khajo ko ngi daras dad dala nganzo yaboshine khajo ko ngi daras tende gi samata de digi mare la ora ta ni tanda dikal chiba phi ma bode chi jempatang ma dala sigido achisa nebi samba yube konto ge dala so tende ge neba samba yuke dala nganzo gi ani chi jempatang ma chiba phi adi mundi digi mare samye di no jores tende digi mare tende samta ji mare la ora kete dandela nucheis da kesi dading anzu nucheis nuchewi samba yus kola samba yusang ani cheja meshe chisi ki da chesang anzu dading anzu la nuba chingire chesang anzu ki chiba pusa dang anzu ki jempa tang ki yu mare la ne sanna taw ina lo disa ina ani hemba jende kasa hemba jende sa ani pende duya la sa ani chumba chema phemba ge nga to ta chi ge na cha ta la suba ge ani tene ge phemba do re sra zebi ge yula sa mai te sa na da gi zuba chida runga duba te tiskal khabu da ti chidra
ye sambara khali ko midu
te la
kesi ra changa mi changa nga chula karen chembo che na chu kadina pendong chi ba ina mempa nangshin tene nga chu zupa ko me go kapyo mari
Hemanashina. Zuba Gaya Kogoyu Mari.
But how could patient be because Mempa Shindu, pensioner, Misuyina, Dama Tukna, Misuyina, Dama Toko Ingen, Tukna, Damena, then Toporanyando, Jamboche, Kibutan, Supercomia,
remember Anzola Surani, Yabuchigra, what the little says, remember in the Dagi Zuba Chitara Doos, 되게 아니 가지고 멤버나시기 있어 근데 팬부터 인자 아니기 근데 네버칭이들래 가지고 para 네버체에 말했으라 팬은 멤버나지 멤버 가지고 팬도 드나시리였습니다. 아
디마르반 니라바디
근데로 인사 딜 쭈버들 디스키 계절로도 다른 라인 인사라 지나게 안들라도 근데 다들 네버체에 선배가 마인베 근데 사는 디기 말은 멤버진데서 팬발라 좀 팬바다 대화두발라 좀 제선 팬배가做了 나차타야기 치데 니 팬테라 소버들 치고라 근데 주비기 유마인데서 들 지나가 저기 팬바스니데 치상 유마인데 다기 주비기 체트라 두스 테나스데 뉴치치 슬레 뉴치치 슬레 뉴치라스 가와 리바오 타디 칸다 카르라월나 치당이 저기 달라 소버디기 사치 코로나 라이카는 네비 삼바 유베스라 추유 마인바 미테바 라 지다도 나 저기 파르로 제 말 코로나 저기 치바차서 유 말 가서는 콘정갈 누가 챙이 레알라 근데도 제 말에 라 타디 멤버들 가리나 가르샤기나 콜코누게 메와이나 가서 팬 토고라 근데 질샤기스라 팬 다기 저기 다 코로나가 팬 토고 삼바데 요 말아 인나 가서 팬 토고레스 근데도 this tadi na kare yodela
inchi sepore
made wala tadi
anyway, so verse 110 reads, "My enemy is not to be revered, since they intend to cause me harm. But how could patience be practiced if, like doctors, people always strove to benefit me?" So this is the opposite, basically, or the verse above, as it were. So saying that. Or if someone were to argue, why should I be respectful to or make offerings to a person I don't like and who is my enemy? Because they are the ones who want to harm me. And then as an answer to that is then the idea of the doctors who merely strive to benefit one. But yeah, so I was saying, to me it seems to be rather clear. That's what I'm saying now. If everybody, is very kind to us all the time, we don't have a chance to practice patience, right? If you only had friends around or everybody's smiling and friendly and not triggering out or pushing out our buttons, then like a doctor who's always wishing to benefit us, then there's no chance to practice. So that's my understanding.
Bodhisattva tadina zubigi is mijen ngazugi zubaina zubala mijen da jijen mijen mambo jo da jen la ne ra tanda kala na zubigi mijen le ra tena zubigi mibi is jen chebe is chibaro su chezang tende tata kandashi na machine chibaro re te dala suba de su ge pen to ere an zubigi mijen le an chirang zuba go me yure an de dad chirang nalu la yoba ine chirang ge dilasa nalu la teni banashi ki gawachi gurus kola khunda la ya pashan tando ngala zuba gonsa ya pujir san su gawa mo ere kanji mani kharshi gola na dad dila ngajo shubu chipa duja taya yo mari la yadre ra
And then next so verse 111 then reads, "Therefore, since patience is produced in dependence upon one with a very hateful mind, that person is worthy of reverence, just like the sacred Dharma, due to being the cause of patience." And the heading to it is that therefore they are worthy of reverence, since they are the observed object conditioned for my patience. So this is basically in line with what we have said before, that our enemies, we should, because they are the object, or here it's the observed object condition of my patience, and therefore we should consider them as like a treasure and not treat them badly in any way.
Dansen la tapena nga zogi chi magawa sai susuge shidang cha sai yujura dansen la tene tende ani dansen la tene zuba chewe nas sheza phagela chi kansa eta susula magawa so dala sopa digila tene nga zogi zuba che bora zubachi kures teni karasana zubigi jures chesa ta ranja shigi durwa tende ani suge shedan chesa gi dala soba susuge zubigi yucha ores dila ani ngana tambi chöjni chöbar chala digala anzu gi chikonjo dal hada duzula anzu chiba pyu shibu chigiro ra karchana na ngasonam saya gi chidi anzu chiba pyu ra 지정한 라마를 표현해 상제다 가리네 치와 표현다 진리 짐바다야도 가르치고라는 나라의 수능 사이치도 지그러 왔어. 제선 되게 이디고라 다리야 그런게 아니 치와 표현다 그런게 짐바다서 유수는 리그레스. 가르스나 코야 그런게 수능 사서지레스. 가르스나 코너랑 먼저 접어 거면이나 그런게 수능 사이라라 그러더라.
Yes, this is yes. Again, saying the same thing, we often, you might make offerings or, want to practice generosity with regard to the holy objects, three Jews, make offerings to them in order for us to accumulate merit. And so likewise, we should actually do be kind, generous, and practice generosity with our so-called enemies, because then we have another chance to accumulate merit. By doing, being kind to them and developing patience. How is it? Do you find it a bit difficult?
Difficult? Anja shigdara. Ine shedang manda anja shedi chido.
We're saying, or the same thing is here. We said again, but again, looking at it from different angles or using a few different words.
반복하시슬라나 daddy ngazo ge chimna terna sige ngazo gawa gongge sa jirela jishesa ra ibadela khalana ani daddy kyange sonam sae ge shinza ani ge kyange dele chiba philoso dele magawa chego mare lan chiglasa ra dadle magawa che mare kyange sonam sa ge shiris magawa che mare chikchi chidela kyange daddy kyange sonam sa ge shinza ani di konjola chiba phiwada 아니 달라지 마타 치바피에 치바르샤스 가스나 다이 트라이 소남사게 신레 나도 건조도 줄라 치바피에 수수 소남사야다 디바타에 치든 가지고 치바피고요라 이데 총바라는 시랑 마라 그러면서 된다 시랑 치바간래
Yeah, so again, the same thing is said here repeatedly, but using different ideas to express these ideas. One was, for example, considering the enemy as a treasure, so precious, and we should be joyful to meet a person like that, or regarding the enemy as a merit field. And so therefore we shouldn't dislike them, or thinking that in fact the enemy is same as in the holy objects, the three Jews, for example, and they're same that we both accumulate merits with regard to both of them. So.
Dal di mare di samnanti gordi di dagin jero shewa manjut nanti dal di pa tharin tangora ne dal tharin taya mares zuba komsa yichagidu ani tena shere ani dele zuba jibala to sama sono phegre digal dagin jero shegda tari manche ra.
Anyway, so this is talking about the rather good qualities we can look at from the enemy, by seeing them as a treasure and as a merit field and so forth.